October 21st. So welcome to everyone that's here in person as well as listening online. I would like to call the meeting to order. So if you would like to call the roll.
Ms. Ebright. Here. Mr. Fisher.
Here.
Ms. Thomas. Here. Ms. Williams. Here. Mr. Lightfoot.
Here. All right. You want to take a moment of silence? October 21st. So welcome to everyone that's here in person as well as stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. The flag is right here for us that is here. I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right. Thank you, everyone. Moving on to approve the agenda with any adjustments. Obviously, everyone saw probably the most major adjustment that we made to the agenda, which was the location. So I appreciate everyone that is here, and we have signage for anyone that tried to go to the auditorium to go over here, so everyone is aware from that standpoint. The other adjustments under the treasurer's report, there is items 4 and 5. Are there needs for any other additions or adjustments to the agenda? Anything need pulled out, voted separate, any of those things? Hearing none, if you need a motion to approve the adjustments. Linda's first. Laura's second. Any items that you want to talk, or will you discuss those adjustments in the treasurer's report?
Yes.
Those will be talked about in the treasurer's report. So if you want to call the roll.
Ms. Ebright. Yes. Mr. Fisher.
Yes.
Ms. Thomas. Yes. Ms. Williams. Yes. Mr. Lightfoot.
Yes, motion carries and those adjustments are made. Next item on the agenda is to approve the board minutes from the September 16th meeting. Hopefully everyone had a chance. Those were posted online for us to review prior to this. Looking for a motion to approve. Okay, Kim is the first, and Andy is the second. She beat you by a second. So. All right, any items that need discussed? Hearing none, if you want to call the roll on approving the minutes from the September 16th meeting.
Ms. Ebright. Yes. Mr. Fisher.
Yes.
Ms. Thomas. Yes. Ms. Williams. Yes. Mr. Lightfoot.
Yes, motion carries. As board president, I get to do fun things, which has changed the agenda on you all slightly. So with that, I just want to make it time to recognize 2 teachers within our district. I am going to steal 2 administrators' thunder a little bit when it comes to it. But the Rotary Club had their Golden Apple nomination. We were lucky enough to have 2 teachers that were nominated as finalists. So that is very exciting. With that, Christina Rodman from middle school was nominated, and then Chelsea Burton from the high school were nominated. Unfortunately, they did not win the Golden Apple this year, but I still want to recognize them for their awesome service, and it's teachers like that that really make this school what it is. So it's very exciting to see that. It was, you all can correct me if I'm wrong, so I'm going out on a limb. We were the only non-Findlay school that had multiple teachers that were nominated. Findlay had quite a few teachers up, but we were the only school outside of Findlay that had multiple teachers from the district that were nominated. So kudos to everyone, and please pass that along to your buildings accordingly. So. Go right ahead.
I would like to recognize Ray Wolf, a VB alumni who, yes, won one of the awards. I think there were 3, right? But Ray was one of them. So congrats to our VB alumni.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. Moving on to visitors' comments. I do have one to read, but I can't get it to load right now. So I'm going to try again. All right. And then I will get to comments from the public that are here. So the one that I have to read or I get to read, sorry, I should not say have to, is from Tim Sheets. So with this, I was at the elementary a few weeks ago, and there was a dog in the office that was running around off leash and barked several times. It had no identification, vest, badge, etc., indicating it was a therapy dog. Is this a therapy dog for the district? If it is properly trained, it certainly shouldn't bark at kids or visitors. Wouldn't the district be responsible if the dog hurt someone? And this is a very valid question that we received, and we are looking into it. And Mr. Bloom will be in contact with you, Mr. Sheets, to answer this fully. We are attempting to get all the needed paperwork accordingly set up for that. So, but you will receive an email from Mr. Bloom or a phone call kind of discussing that. But yes, you are correct about the district would be responsible. So we will be looking into it. So, any other comments from visitors? All right, seeing none, we will move on. On to the informative reports and communications. I am going to go with middle school from that degree.
Exactly. I submitted my report. I don't have anything to add, so if you have questions, I can't take those. But again, congratulations to Christina. Again, like you said, you stole my thunder. But from our understanding, there were 86, I believe, nominated. So to be in the top 9, essentially, was quite an honor. So we were both, Mr. Shop and I, very excited to be there for that. So.
Awesome. All right. Any questions? All right. Well, thank you for the report, and please pass along to everyone in your building that we appreciate all their hard work. Mr. Schaup, high school.
Again, although you stole our thunder, I am going to add a little bit beyond the nominations of Ms. Burton and Ms. Rodman, and just the general recognition. The way that they went through the process and the things we heard in their videos yesterday just truly embody what we're doing here as educators, as people, as parents, as community members. The way they responded to the questions and the passion in which they teach that you could really feel from their presentations was remarkable. So very proud of them again. So to my report, nothing to add unless you have any questions.
All right. Well, thank you for your report. And once again, I apologize to both of you for stealing your thunder, but I wanted to make it a little bit more special coming straight out the gate. So please pass along to everyone in your building. We appreciate all their hard work. Elementary, Mr. Newcomer had is unable to attend tonight. So if you have any questions about his report, it was submitted for our review. Mr. Bloom will be more than thrilled to try to attempt to answer said questions, or at least take it back to Mr. Newcomer. So, anything? All right. Well, for all the teachers in the building there, we appreciate your hard work as well that might be listening or here in person. So thank you. BBEA highlights.
We have nothing to report.
Okay. All right. Thank you. Teaching and learning. Cassie or Mrs. Schaefer is unable to attend. So if anyone has any questions about her report, Mr. Bloom will be more than happy to answer those because he has a wealth of knowledge on it, or at least take them back to her.
If I don't know, I will not guess. I will make sure it's correct with Cassie.
Any questions? All right. Well, we appreciate all her hard work, and she did submit a report for us to review that was in depth and very enlightening. Maintenance, transportation, and food service.
As far as my report, I have nothing to add to it, but I just want to take a minute to express to you how hard the food service people are really working, and I would just like to publicly thank them for everything that they're doing to make sure the kids are getting hot, nutritious meals, and they're having a good time doing it. And even through all of their struggles, they just continue to be upbeat and, you know, energetic. And I think that it's really a testament to who they are and what they're doing.
Joan, how much have the supply chain issues impacted our ability to provide food? Like, you're still able to serve hot meals daily, correct?
Yes.
Okay.
The only impact we really have is we just have to be creative. You know, and instead of ordering meals for these 5 days, we have to order maybe a couple alternatives. And the struggle is we don't really know whether we're gonna get it until the truck gets here and it's not there. So we have partnered up with the Great Scott stores here, the community markets, Tops out of Sandusky, the local Gordon store. So we have a lot of resources that we reached out to that we can just drive down and get things as we need them. But you just have to be creative and say, okay, what are we gonna do today? But I think you just have to be prepared. But we haven't run out. You know, we may have some count issues where we thought we were feeding 250 and 300 show up. So they make, we make those changes as we go and make adjustments as we go, but no. They haven't really impacted us as much as they could or should.
Great, thank you.
I was gonna say, as a parent, I just wanted to pass along that I appreciate everything that food service is doing, and although we don't have a month menu like we normally do, we get a menu in plenty of time. Like you said, it's hot food that they have, and once it goes out, you stick to it. That is one of the complaints I've heard from other schools, from other parents from other districts, where their kid thinks it's going to be this, so they're okay with eating, and then when they get there, it gets changed, and now the kid is no longer wanting to eat, and it, has an impact for them at that degree. So I greatly appreciate, even though we're doing 2 or 3 days at a time, it still stays true to what you put out there, which is appreciated from that standpoint. Like you said, I think still having hot meals, you see on the news some of the schools that are struggling and stuff like that, that you're able to keep giving that is a testament, like you said, to the resourcefulness of your workers. So we appreciate that.
Thank you.
And I think you're doing a good job of communicating that to our community as well.
Thank you, that we're trying to.
All right, any other questions? All right, and please pass along to everyone else, bus drivers, groundskeepers, custodians, all that they are doing a great job of keeping everything as going from that degree. So.
I certainly will, thank you.
All right, athletics and facilities, Schlotterbeck.
Just a couple updates since the report was submitted. We've had some more athletic events. The biggest accomplishment, if you will, girls golf placed 11th over the weekend. So that was they've been down to the state back-to-back years. So really successful there. They lose 2 seniors, so we're looking for big things next year again. Cross-country team competed at BBCs this past weekend as well, and both teams, boys and girls, took second runner-up. And Nate Webster and Megan Raguti were both coaches of the year. So that was exciting. District cross-country this weekend that we hosted the Northwest District at Owens. Mr. Biney does a great job running that because we have other events here that day. Girls soccer competed in the tournament game on Tuesday out at Ashton Crestview and unfortunately lost 1-0. So their tournament run and season is over. Volleyball advanced to the second round of the tournament and lost to Ottawa Glandorf last night. So their season's over. And we are waiting on the boys soccer tournament, which is Saturday here at 2 o'clock against Eastwood. And varsity football has their last game of the season, regular season, tomorrow against Vanloo. Optimistically, they'll be in the playoffs then the following Saturday at whatever location to be necessary on Sunday when we find that out. So just an update for athletics. And then other than that, I have nothing really else to add to the report. Do you have any questions?
Justin, how are your numbers comparing to the last year's with student athletes?
So right now, if you can see in the one chart, I was comparing to the year before. So we have 237 student athletes in 7 through 12 this year and 225 compared to last year. Don't ask me why they increased. It could be because COVID last year too, you never know. One of the reports that I was going to look at, probably do the next time, is a breakdown of where we've been since since the 6 years I've been here, just to see, since those are the numbers I have. So we've got an increase. If you look at that second page, I break it down per class and the percent that are participating in the fall. Overall, 7 through 12 are about 46% participating in athletics. That's pretty standard for what I've seen in the last 6 years. I would like to see that number increase, but we've got a lot of offerings with athletics and music and everything else that it spreads our kids, and that's great too. So hopefully that answers that question.
Thank you.
The only other thing I'll add to with the sports, you've got a report on the gate sales. That was current last week. Obviously, we've had some events, so now we are up over 31,000 this year. So you can kind of see where those numbers fall in within the data there that I gave you.
How does that number affect like the sports passes? Like, because when you break that number down, it doesn't seem like it's like the actual gate sales or what you would expect for a ticket. So
Yeah.
how do you break down people with sports passes in those?
So I would just have to run a report on the sports passes that we've sold, if you will. Because when you come to games with a sports pass, we scan you, so it counts in the attendance that I have, which I did not include. Yes, I did. So the attendance is included in that at the top. So gate sales are a little, I guess, skewed as far as being less than what they really should be because of the sports passes. I just haven't run a report on the sports passes yet. So you're probably, usually in sports passes, we do anywhere between, just depends on the year, 10 to 30,000 in sports passes. So I would just have to run that report for you to give you that exact number.
Okay, thank you. All right. Any other questions? All right. Well, thank you, and thanks for all your hard work of keeping everything up and going during this lovely year.
That's fun.
All right, technology report.
Nothing additional.
Okay. Any questions? All right, well, thank you for all your hard work. Special education report. Ms. Bunn could not be here as well tonight, so Mr. Bloom is up for any questions that you might have.
I was wondering, since we are doing this in-house now, a lot of that, and she's mentioned that they had finished some IEPs. Do parents appreciate that we're doing this in-house a lot more than when it was just done with the ESE? Do you know?
I think Mrs. Budd and all of her staff and our administrative and our teaching staff, it's been overwhelming positive response from my level. I have not heard anything negative. I really think parents appreciate the personalized touch and people like actually caring and following through. I think it's brand new to many, and everyone here knows Bridget Budd. It's really hard not to be happy and upbeat around Bridget Budd, and I think everyone appreciates it.
If I could add to that as one of her teachers. I think the meetings we've had so far, parents have been very appreciative because she was at that K-1 level, so she knows all of their kids. She's had most of the kids in our program, so to have a familiar face that now is the flip side, that knows everything that goes into the backside, what we can do, what we can offer, it has made a big difference for us as staff and parents.
That's great. Good. Thank you.
And I'm gonna jump in too, just to add one additional thing that was really cool, that we've been working with in the middle school. We have a couple students that are not placed within our building. And that can be really tricky to have those conversations and the IEP meetings and get everyone on the same page. And so she can come at that situation with a lot of knowledge of what we can offer, and she knows the district and those meetings. I know I wasn't here last year, but they have gone as well as they could, and with a lot of hope of getting those students back into our building. And I feel like without her in the district, that may be nearly impossible. So it's been a huge benefit for us.
That's good to hear.
Any other questions? Okay. Well, please pass along, or help her to pass along, and anyone here that we appreciate all the hard work of her staff and what they're doing, so. All right. Gifted report.
I don't have anything to add, so did I answer all of your questions with the technology professional development?
So she's referring, I asked a question about professional development. She gave us the nice graph and the breakdown of teachers that had it and opportunities. And my question was just around what's the plan for those teachers that are kind of falling short or stragglers may not have started. And she says that there's opportunities that will be there, and that is built into this year for opportunities. So, but
It's just the requirements, just 15 hours a year until they reach 60. So it's not a problem. And after going to the Data conference, I've got lots of ideas.
yeah. Good. Any other questions? All right. Well, thank you for all your work. Superintendent's report.
I kind of had something else, but after hearing all of this, I would like to point out the vibe in the room, I feel like, is now the vibe of the district. There's a lot of recognition of people doing the right thing. There's a lot of emphasis on our traits. I really am very appreciative of our teaching staff and our support staff in the rooms that I've been in. The relationships that they're having with our kids are second to none. I told Mr. Schaub, there was a teacher, there was a young lady having an issue, couldn't find time to do work, had to work for her family, had a lot of issues going on. A teacher was out there trying to work with that individual and point out and solve. The video that your kiddos made in middle school about the traits, fantastic. Elementary, I mean, you know I can't let this slide by. I mean, when you teach, it's absolutely wonderful in your room. There's just a sense of accomplishment. I heard a young man in gym class Wednesday talking about how he's resilient. He was a 5th grader. So it's like authentic. You hear Mr. Shout coming from 8 miles away with his keys jangling, but he knows everybody and he talks the talk with the kids. So there's a lot of positives going on, and I'm extremely happy that people are treating each other with kindness and respect, and the kids are doing the same thing. So it's been a wonderful start to the year. It really has. So I wasn't going to go there, but then it just reminded me when everybody was talking about how John is out and visible with his staff. That's fantastic. So he's a hands-on person, making sure we get food to the kids, not just peanut butter and jelly, but everything to the kids. So that's my report.
Question?
The only kind of follow up with that is going into the class, because you mentioned it in your report, and it was also mentioned in the teaching and learning report, but I figured I'd just wait till now. And I saw that in 2 weeks is when the quarter is done.
Yes.
Do we have a guesstimate on when we will find out where we're at in the class?
Yes, you will have a report from our wonderful administrators at our next board meeting, and the flyer should be sent out mid-November. We've already started working on it. So yes, it should be there. As a matter of fact, our first meeting about it took way too long.
Big surprise.
Good data, but it took a long time.
Any other questions? All right. Well, thank you. And then I looked at my notes and I forgot one other recognition that I wanted to do, and that is to Deputy Crouch. So as people are aware, we had a little bit of an incident in our district and some of the other surrounding districts, a little too much excitement for our small Findlay. So we had the incident on I-75, and he was instrumental in figuring out safety of this building and our kids and keeping us in the loop from that standpoint. So I appreciate all his hard work, and it just shows how great it is to have him here in Van Buren. So if you're listening, I appreciate everything you do. If not, I definitely want to tell everyone that we appreciate his hard work and looking out for the safety of our kids. So, agreed. Thought maybe you were going to throw that in, but
I forgot.
all right. Moving on to superintendent's standing committee reports. Anything from personnel?
We did have the evaluation process that is ongoing for superintendent and treasurer, so we will be discussing that later tonight.
All right. Audit and finance.
We have not had a meeting since the last board
Okay.
meeting.
We'll have a meeting probably second week-ish of November to discuss the budget forecast.
Transportation and facilities.
We didn't have a meeting, but there is one scheduled for this month on the 29th. We skipped last month's meeting, so the team had an opportunity to develop a list of items that we're going to be looking at for maintenance that we work on, and that, and continue on with the permanent improvement tracking sheet and that kind of stuff. So, forward to it.
All right. Athletics and extracurricular.
We had a board meeting.
Okay. Policies. I don't have anything, we still need to work on making our own policy in regards to club sports here. So that'll be on our agenda to discuss. Student achievement liaison.
Nothing other than what I said last month, and I'm thinking that the video is gonna come out in November, but Weston.
Okay. And curriculum. All right. All right, well, thanks, everyone. I didn't have anything on old business. If somebody wants to, I didn't have anything in mind, so. Moving on to new business then. First up is the treasurer's report. So I'm looking for a motion to approve items 1 through 5.
I'll make your motion.
Kim is the first. Where's the second? Jacobs, if you want to walk us through.
So we have the IDEA hearing. That's actually meeting the Ohio Revised Code to allow for public comment since we accept federal funds for special education services. But know that we'll take any community comments about special education ongoing throughout the year. But this makes a requirement for the Ohio Department of Education, especially in light of the additional the ARP, American Reinvestment, American Recovery Plan. That's what it is, recovery, too many acronyms. We did get a little bit of extra money in that regard for those, for the kids with special needs. So we have everything budgeted, everything's in and approved, and we're actually starting to have some of that money flow to us at this point, so, which is good. As far as my finance report, we have a couple of budget and purpose plans for you to approve this month. One is for band and one is for the class of 2023. This just gives you estimates on revenues and expenses and allows those clubs and activities to operate on the finance side. So it's very much like the appropriations that we submit that allow us to operate as well. The 5-year forecast, a good portion of the forecast is completed at this point. I'm very optimistic with the numbers I'm seeing right now. I'll be working on the assumptions next week and anticipate a November submission to the board for approval and submission to the state by the November 30th deadline. All fiscal year 21 grants and federal programs have been completed, and all final expenditure reports were submitted by the end of September. I did provide in your finance report tonight just copies of those reports. That's just an FYI, just to show you the funds that came in, and it was very little that we rolled over into this next fiscal year. It was the folks that were in charge of those federal programs this year. They did a really fabulous job of staying on top of those programs and keeping the expenses in line. And we used almost all of it, which was absolutely fabulous on my end. Makes my job a little bit easier in that regard. So, but that's all done and submitted. So the next round of grants, I have in and budgeted, and you'll be seeing a grant tracker for for that in the next finance report. I just want to, as a side note, I just wanted you to know that the presentation that Brian and I did in Milwaukee went really well. Brian did a fabulous job. He did an absolutely fabulous job. And I want to say that I appreciate the fact that you allowed us to kind of, you know, leave our school district boundaries to go and provide that information and training to treasures from all over the country, really all over the world that came. So it was really fabulous, and I want to thank you for that. And I want to thank Brian for his support and his hard work and him putting up with me. So that's a big part of that. In your finance report tonight, the graph that you're seeing in there about enrollment trends, I actually have several years of enrollment in there. Here's the interesting thing. Those enrollment trends are based on what our foundation is based on, which is all of the kids that we're required to educate. Doesn't matter where they go. So the numbers that you're seeing in that graph have to do with anybody that maybe they go to Millstream, or maybe they are on an online school, or maybe, I mean, there's all kinds of different educational settings, but there are Van Buren kids, and so we're responsible for them. With the passage of the new funding bill, they're not tracking any of those kids for us anymore. So you're probably going to see a different graph. We may kind of start from where we started from at the beginning of the year, because starting in October, November, even as late as December, it's only going to be those kids that show up in our district every day to attend school. So I'm gonna have to rethink the enrollment trends in the graph that you're seeing, because it's gonna look absolutely skewed, because the new House bill for the funding has changed the factors. So stay tuned for that, but that is coming, and it'll be actually changing.
So will we be able to tell why people or what kids are leaving the district?
Well, and Brian and I talked about that today. Do you want to talk about that a little bit?
The net increase with everything, not people enrolling and going somewhere else, is we're up 16 for this school year.
What's the final number on that?
And I don't remember what it was. I just know it's kids leaving versus coming in. There's 16 more that are coming in and leaving. The main reasons, number of kids are going to Findlay because of the extracurricular and athletics or whatever clubs or sports that they would offer. That's a big one. We have seen an uptick in kids who are expressing an interest with online learning. And also there's another group after that of kiddos who, for whatever reason, if their uncle or if their aunt or something went to another school and their family still lives there, they want to send their kids there. But the overwhelming top two are online and going to Findlay city schools for extracurricular opportunities. I will tell you, we've had a large increase with students with IEPs coming to our district this year.
But I think it has to do too with the higher levels. Definitely higher levels. Moving on with the finance report, do you have any other questions about that? I don't want to step on anything. The expense comparison, you're going to notice an increase in the expenses when we look at last year to this year. And I wanted to let you know that that is being specifically driven by how some of our expenses are actually being accounted in our system. So because of going direct pay with school employees retirement system as well as the ESC bills, and removing that from that foundation equation, we are paying both of those entities directly. And so it's going to instead of the state kind of floating us through the first few months of the fiscal year, really they float us right, used to float us all the way to the end, and then they would send us a bill at the end of the year for $300,000. We're actually paying that live as we close each month. So you're gonna see an uptick there in those expenses. So, and that was anticipated, so just so you don't think that we're going crazy in our purchase service line, so.
Are you referring to supplies at 170%?
There's an additional anomaly that's attached to that.
Okay.
We stopped using an 009 fund. And an 009 fund, it was just a specific silo that would track student fees coming in and expenses going out for supplies. And all we used to do, we never get 100% of the supply money coming in. So we would, at some point, boost up that fund, either by a transfer or moving the expenses over to the operating money. So I did away with the 009 fund to remove all of that transfer back and forth of those funds. So now all of those 009 student fees are being deposited into the operating money, and all of the supply expenses are housed now in the operating money. So you're going to see an uptick in that, of those supplies this year. And I'm also tracking the cost of gas. The cost of gas has gone up for us too. So there's a couple of different areas, and I can break that down for you, show you where the differences are if you would like to see that. I'll do that. The revenue comparison as well, you're going to see some differences. You'll see that the revenues, now, you'll notice that some of those lines are positive and negative from one year to the next. The reason that that's happened is that the state has changed, there's so many changes this year. They have changed the revenue codes that we're actually using in our state system. And so some of those are, deposits are being tracked on different lines, so they're showing up a little bit differently. And overall, though, the big picture was the increase from the income tax starting to be collected in the district. So that's the biggest difference on the revenue line. Couple of other items. We have item number 4, which is the amended certificate and appropriation measure for the Hancock County Auditor. We submit final appropriations to the Hancock County Auditor by September 30th. I over appropriated one of the funds, so I'm making an amendment to bring those expenses into line and bring down that appropriation for that fund line. So we're going to resubmit that with your approval after this meeting. And the only other item we have, we do have a couple of donations that were collected in September for the soccer lights. $5,000 from Prison Propane and $5,000 from Kobe. Also, we have the new fund, and this new fund is going to track all of the activity for the student store. We have actually done all the background work now, and so on the finance side, we're essentially pretty set. I met with the kids this week and talked about what kind of procedures that we're going to have on the finance side, and we just finished all of the documentation for the banks to allow them to accept credit cards. So we are moving forward. There is progress. Everyone's getting real excited, so I'm actually thrilled to have been a little bit a part of it. So so much going on, and the kids are they're doing a fabulous job, just absolutely fabulous. They come to me with PowerPoint presentations, so it's really awesome. Everything that they bring is well thought out, and they have background, and they know why they want to do things, and so it's really great to see. They're doing a really great job. And that is all I have in my section.
One question for you.
Yeah.
So the projected dollars for this year, I guess, are you getting close to throwing them in for the general fund to look at those for year 2022, so we can kind of track them? Or is that not necessary, I guess?
I don't understand.
Okay, so page 8 there, we're at the projected column for beginning cash and then rolls all through there. I didn't know if there was gonna be
Oh, yes.
projections in there. I know
Yes.
you said it was coming.
Yep,
so
it
I
is
was
coming.
just-
You'll see that in October, that will all
Okay,
get filled
okay.
in. Yep,
Yeah, sorry.
yep, no, you're fine.
Good.
I was like, I don't know what to look at. Okay, yep, yep, that's
I
coming.
say that quite a bit.
Well, and that kind of goes tandem with the 5-year forecast. So I'm finalizing all of those numbers now. And so I have a really solid number on all the different tax lines and the foundation lines. Now, the foundation line is going to remain a little bit soft because I don't think that's going to be, with air quotes, fully funded until probably December. So we're going to give it our best estimate when it comes to that, but all of the payroll projections have been completed and we're actually really darn close to being done. So you'll see those numbers, they'll be next month. Yep.
Any other questions? All right. Do you want to call the roll on approving the treasurer's recommendation for 1 through 5?
Ms. Seabright?
Yes.
Mr. Fisher?
Yes.
Ms. Thomas?
Yes.
Ms. Williams?
Yes.
Mr. Lightfoot?
Yes, motion carries. Those items are approved. Moving on to the superintendent's recommendations, looking for a motion to approve. Items 1 through 5. Is that what you're making the motion?
Yep.
Okay. Need a second?
A second. Gosh darn, all 3 of us. I don't know, I'm out. I'm out.
Are you calling?
Yeah.
Go ahead.
All right, Kevin's a second. So, you want to walk us through those items?
Sure. First item, we had a couple resignations, Ms. Alyssa Hopper in the custodial world and Ashley Wilson in Dawn's world. Ashley has found a job in her home district where her kids go to school. So I wish her well with all of that. We have number 2, you have some coaches and cheerleaders and quiz bowl advisors, and I believe, yes, we even have a couple substitute bus drivers. Fantastic. Wrestling coach who is in the house tonight, and some additional time stipends for Mr. Fry and Mr. Van Hoos, of which Mr. Schaup is still here. If we need to go into that, I can get into some more in depth with that. Also, we had to do another amendment to the calendar. We added 1 more day on to the semester. And again, if there needs to be more clarification, Mr. Schaup is here to answer those questions. And number 5, we have the wonderful soccer and cross-country tournament workers, because that's coming up, as you heard, this weekend. So nothing extreme in this section. I'd be happy to answer any questions that you might have.
Questions? All right, hearing none, if you want to call the roll on approving items 1 through 5 of the superintendent's recommendation.
Ms. Seabright?
Yes.
Mr. Fisher?
Yes.
Ms. Thomas? Yes. Ms. Williams?
Yes.
Mr. Lightfoot?
Yes. All right, motion carries. Those items are approved. Moving on for the board's discussion. Have soccer lights on there. So I will probably be the one to talk this through and try to be as neutral as possible when it comes to the explanation for this. So, as everyone is aware, if you go back and look, during a board meeting, it would have been in June, we agreed and made a motion to match. We were willing to match up to $15,000 for donations that were made during July. And in the wording of that, there was a legal issue of committed versus collected. So looking at which one those were. So just to cover all bases, there was $22,000 committed during July, but necessarily not all of those was
Oh, committed.
committed.
Gotcha.
22 and some, which is what Justin reported to us on his report. That was committed Unfortunately, collected was about 12,000. So a little over 12,000. So the intentions of the board was the 15,000, and we made an assumption during that time that we would probably get the 15,000, and we would be willing to match that to try to get this project done. From an auditor standpoint, our treasurer was a little concerned about committed versus collected. So she wanted us to have a discussion of whether we should just go ahead and make a resolution to commit the remaining amount up to the $15,000.
Have we collected 15,000?
At this stage of the game, we have, with the donations that we approved, we have collected $22,234 and some cents. Okay, so I was close. So
Now collected though.
in the month of September and
After September.
yes, and into October, we have collected
The committed funds.
the committed funds.
So are you, when we, I just want to committed and collected.
I know, this is where it's very, I'm
So
being,
you're saying that when we approved it, it was, we approved for collected, not
correct.
not
Yeah.
committed. Like in the
I'm
wording,
not
it
sure
says
we-
collected.
We never-
We never said that.
We never made a statement when it comes to it, so now that's why we just
Okay.
want, from a treasurer's audit standpoint, just want to make sure that we don't get in trouble from a standpoint of us, for Don to write a check for the $15,000, if an auditor were to look and go, well, the motion that was made was for the amount collected, which wasn't $15,000 during the month of
So the
July.
motion was for collected.
It
So
would,
it was to match the activity of July. So,
Okay.
you know, it,
it's how you want to take the word activity.
yeah, so if so that's why I had a conversation with Mike about it. I said, the way it is now with the conversation that was around that motion feels like I should match the 12,344. So, but if it's the intent of the board to match the full 15 because they actually collected in excess of the 15. It just would be covering our bases to have an additional motion that says we are committing 15,000.
So new resolution.
I can tell you it was my
Yeah.
intention, on whatever it was, committed, collected, all that stuff to cover that 15,000.
And as a board member who committed but failed to participate to the collection fees, I feel bad that I have contributed to this error. So I don't know if we have any more alliteration go on, but I would be happy to make is it a resolution or a new motion?
I would do a new motion.
A new
that
motion
based
that
on-
the boards,
Based on the donations that have been collected in support of the Soccer Lions, the board is willing to. I should be making a motion, but you know what I'm saying?
yes,
Yes,
so we want to make sure we have the correct terminology. So yes, I would make a motion at this time that the board match $15,000 that was committed during the month of July.
Second.
Okay. Any discussions or questions?
Okay.
Hearing none, if you would like to call the roll on a motion for the matching of the committed funds not to exceed 15,000.
is he right?
Yes.
Mr. Fisher?
Yes.
Ms. Thomas?
Yes.
Ms. Williams? Yes. Mr. Lightfoot?
Yes.
Thank you so much, I'm sorry to be patient.
No, we appreciate you ensuring that everything we do stays compliant.
Motion carries. So that is the case. And I think I'm gonna put Mr. Slaughter back on the spot when it comes to it. That should put us decently close to committing, or the full amount that would be needed to finish the project close, correct?
Yeah, so after this, the goal is to sit down next week with our group and hammer out the hard numbers, and then provide our community with an update. Yes, this is going to, we're there. The amount, I don't want to say right now, because we do have someone that is willing to step up and cover the rest of it. I just need to get that number to that person. So, a little, I guess, teaser, we've already paid for half of the lights. And so that secured it, that it's happening. So we will get an update to the community because I know that there are a lot of people out there asking questions. This was obviously a piece of it. Once we get that money deposited, we'll have hard numbers and we know exactly what we're doing. So the actual install will start soon. So the season will be over on here at campus on Saturday. They'll still have a couple weeks of practice through the tournaments, but then we'll start the project. So it's exciting. I appreciate the full commit of 15,000, really do. I know our community will, and that facility down there will look stunning under the lights. So it's pretty cool.
Justin, I have to say, I'm really proud of the hard work you and your team have done to make this a community collaborative. Absolutely.
I appreciate it. A big group effort, and there was so many community members that made it work. I just happened to be, the person reporting, so I appreciate it.
Yeah, if you actually see the list of who all, it's small.
Yeah.
It's small. So,
Yeah.
really great.
I do think that this falls right in line with our quest and giving the experience to the kids, because between the press box and those lights, that will be quite an experience for our kids and potentially for other kids that will come here for tournaments or any other things that might be able to experience Van Buren and the Van Buren community. So appreciate that. All right, next item on the agenda is executive session. So
I make a motion that we go into executive session at 7:52.
I don't have to read all that.
I second. For the purpose of
Yeah,
discipline, employment,
Okay.
dismissal, promotion.
Laura, we're going into executive session. If you want to call Laura, do you want to call the roll?
Ms. Seabright.
Yes.
Mr. Fisher.
Yes.
Ms. Thomas.
Yes.
Ms. Williams.
Yes.
Mr. Whitehead.
Yes, motion carries. At this point in time, there will be no items that we will take action on coming out of executive session other than voting to adjourn the meeting. So if you want to stay, you are more than welcome, but we appreciate everyone that has attended the meeting and going from there. Thank you all. We are going to be meeting in the elementary conference. Out of executive session at 8:59.
Make a motion to adjourn.
Amy's got first.
Second. Yes.
Kevin's got
let's go.
second.
Go watch the round.
Right.
Colleen.
Mr. Fisher.
Yes.
Ms. Thomas.
Yes.
Mr. Wood.
Gosh, bless America. Miss Jacobs.
Yes.
I want a resolution. I want a resolution.
We are adjourned the vote was 4-0.
I don't even know what to say, John. I'm just.
Thank you,